Back with another episode of The Crossover with your hosts, Rabbi and Brian. We have a day off in the association, so we're just going to look back to last Saturday's epic Game 7. Clippers-Spurs. What does it mean? What does it mean for the Spurs? What does it mean for the Clippers? And what ifs all together. So, Rabbi, man, what you got to say, man, about this game?
B, man, this game is so big, we have to do a podcast, for it all on its own.
You're right.
That's how much attention it warranted. So, this Game 7, a lot of legacies on the line. With the Clippers, they're trying to build a legacy. With the Spurs, they're trying to put a nice little bow at the end of their legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And it lived up to the hype. I mean, this series overall was the best first-round series by far. I think Game 2 was the only one where there was a blowout win by the Spurs. But aside from that, each one of these games came down to the final minutes. And it was all about execution, and it was no different with Game 7. The Clippers came out home court. They have that's what you work all season for.
Mm-hmm.
You won that Game 7 at home when it counts. And Pop, going back to you, and you want to rest guys in February and March. This is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
This is what happens. But. Yeah. I digress. We'll get back to the game.
Exactly.
This game was, pretty much back and forth the entire time. We spoke about the big play at the end of the third and finishing quarter strong. And Chris Paul hit a big three, buzzer beater three off the glass at the end of the third quarter.
Yep.
How do you feel about that?
Well, we mentioned it at the game. I mentioned it to you guys. Like at the time, Chris Paul was on the bench when the play before occurred, and the play before it occurred was Ginobili getting a call that Chris Paul almost always wants to get and never gets from the officials. The 60-foot heave as he gets fouled behind in the back court, and he tosses up the ball pretending that he's shooting. And Ginobili got that call. And I said to you at the time, it's like, Chris Paul gets off this bench next time, he's going to be livid. He's going to be in those referees. And no word of a lie, you get substituted back in because they had the stoppage in play. You get subbed back in for the last play for the Clippers. Hits the big three. And if you think Chris Paul was going to celebrate, pump up the guys, no. He looked straight for the referees. I think Scott Foster had been handling the game. He was in their grills immediately because for the call before. Heck, I know Chris Paul's personality. Anybody who's a Hoops fan knows how that was going to go down. So, it was fun all around. We had the injury to Chris Paul earlier in the game, which caused even more drama. It had a bit of everything. And I think we discussed the big point of the game with maybe under 2 minutes left. I think they're down 5, and they're on the ropes, just like the fight. It was a perfect analogy, and then Matthew Barnes hits a huge three when, a lot of the other guys look like deer in headlights, especially Blake at the time. And Matt Barnes hit a huge three, and then, as you said before, Crawford came back with the extended finger roll, and then bring him back. I think that evened it up, at that point.
And that was such a huge play by Crawford because he went between two guys that were straight down the lane. And what I liked about that play, he was looking to finish the play and not looking for the call.
Right, yeah, exactly. He was looking to just get the hoop.
Guys were looking to make plays, and they weren't necessarily looking for the refs to bail them out at that point. Great execution down the stretch. Chris Paul with this an amazing shot. For all intents and purposes, the buzzer beater, even though it was at the buzzer, but he sang them with that. A second left on the clock. Off balance shot over Duncan.
Wrong footed too, by the way.
Yeah.
Foot. He took off with the wrong foot. It was impressive. However you want to look at it, man. Got the job done. It saved the Clippers. It took the Clippers off of life support for a little bit as far as this set of Clippers. I guess now how you look at things now, because this is where legacies were on the line. Let's start with the Spurs. Do you think in this case here, how many of these guys are back next year?
I think there's a strong possibility this is probably Manu's last year. Duncan, if we look at Duncan's stats in this first round, his PER was the highest. It was higher than his early years in the league. His effectiveness, it was just unbelievable.
Guy, the big
but I think the thing with Duncan is the fact that he prepares very well. He trains, he takes care of his body, but it's a player his age. He's 38, I think.
Yep.
And for a guy at his age, it's not so much a physical, but it's a mental grind of having to go through 82 games to get to, I mean, once they get to the playoffs, it's all gravy. These guys are good to go. But
I think when you're at that age, I consider it kind of like, if you're finished school and you say you're finished university, and then you go back to take some night courses a few years later. When you're considering it, it's the grind of getting up. Do I really want to be going back to doing this again?
Exactly.
And it's like, do I really want to be up late doing some type of homework or assignments? That type of thing. And that's the mentality I think that older veteran players like Ray Allen or Tim Duncan in this certain situation, they fight. It's not the actual game itself. It's all the other stuff. The flights at all sorts of hours of the morning, the practices, things like that. That's what gets those guys going. But I think Duncan will be... Huh?
Practice?
I knew it was coming.
Hey.
Well, he never worries about that.
Hey, wait. I mean, today is 13 years to the day of that rant.
Get out of here.
Yep. 13 years, my friend. To the day.
May 7th. Oh, that's in the Raptors series? When did he say that?
No, it wasn't the Raptors series. It was, I can't remember when. It was sometime in the postseason, I believe.
Okay.
Into the postseason.
Oh, wow.
13 years ago, AI made that one word famous.
Oh, Iverson. There was no moment with Iverson. I think this is important. I think Ginobili's the one of the big three. He's the one that you got to wonder about. Parker is slowing down. I don't think they'll move him, but Parker is slowing down. And, they got to find money for Kawhi Leonard when it's all said and done.
Well, now here's the thing. Now, let's say that Manu's done. Let's say for argument's sake, Duncan retires and Pop goes off into the sunset. What are their chances of retaining Leonard?
Well, that's the thing. But Leonard, we just don't know. Is Leonard got alpha dog mentality in him? Like,
well, you see, you hit it right on.
Right, we don't know. Like, I don't know what he's an enigma to me. I have no clue what to figure out with Kawhi Leonard.
Well, the thing is, I mean, what's yet to be seen about Leonard is he just a guy that's a great system guy?
Right.
Or is he a guy you can put him on any team and he can increase that win total by 10, 15 games?
Well, yeah. Well, there's only about 3 or 4 guys can do that. But I see what you're saying. Like, is he a dude that can kind of carry the load night in, night out? Because he had some nights where he's like, you can't find him. He's like Casper. You can't find him anywhere.
Exactly.
So, I mean, as the dude, it's nice when you got days off, you put your feet up, you got Tim Duncan and Parker carrying the load those days. But I gotta wonder if two or even one of those guys leave, all of a sudden now you move up in the pecking order. You can't be taking days off when you're the second option.
That's right.
Right now he's second some nights, sometimes he's third, other nights he's fourth option. Like, I mean... Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, he's an interesting one when it comes to contracts and situations. I'm not sure what to make of him when it comes to contract situations.
And I mean, if we want to take it over now to the Clippers side,
yeah.
I mean, let's give some props. Let's take a moment to give some props to Blake Griffin for his performance.
For real, he's been the best player in the playoffs. I mean, they're just mentioning it last night in the Rockets game. I think people don't realize how good an overall game he has, and I think now people are seeing it. And I've always felt that way. I don't know why people always dog it on Blake. I'm like, dude, man, I'd take Blake in a heartbeat, man. If you want to make a trade, And I said before, I think we talked offline. I personally would trade him. This is about being with 2 players in the league. I think I told you last night that I would trade him for, and we know who one is.
We know who one is.
And the other one I said probably is Anthony Davis. And after that, I mean, you mentioned the rumor about Durant. I wouldn't make that deal if I'm the Clippers.
I wouldn't make that deal either. I mean, that's a rumor that's been going around towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
There's been some whispers about that, but I mean, that's not a deal I would make.
Well,
you don't know Durant's durability moving forward.
Well, what does that say? Does that say in this case that Griffin's stock has risen, that they would consider a 1-to-1 trade with Durant, or Durant's stock has dropped in this case that they're considering a trade 1-to-1? Because only a year ago there was rumors of Griffin Carmelo, and I think we all agree that Carmelo's that Durant's a better player than Carmelo. So, right. Did Blake elevate or did Durant come down? Is the question.
I think in a lot of people's mind, Blake is elevated. And, I mean, I look at it because I think we were talking about it. Blake was always seen as a dunker, Nothing more. Young guys dunking on guys. And within the last couple of years, he showed. I mean, he's added a lot of stuff, and I'm hesitant to use the word added. I think those elements were there.
But when you have Chris Paul on your team who handles the ball every second, how would you ever see those elements? We only saw it last year when Chris Paul was hurt.
Exactly.
Right.
So people are seeing him shoot that 10 to 15 foot jumper. People are seeing him make decisions with the basketball. And it's more, and the dunks are becoming few and far between.
Well, he'll still let loose on someone. Ask Thiago Splitter. They're still looking for him somewhere, guy, a ditch after getting game 1 or 2.
Looking at the stats, he's taking more jumpers now than actual plays in the paint.
He'll still drop the angle on you if necessary.
Just in case you forgot, he'll still remind you.
Exactly. It's more of a mature game now. That's what it is.
Exactly.
Sophisticated.
A more seasoned game.
Exactly. It's for mature clientele.
Exactly. That's a champagne room only game.
No doubt. You can't just wild in the streets in this case here, guys. This is mature clientele.
There's no dunking in the champagne.
Exactly. So, man, let's move on. Though I think the Clippers in this case are safe for now. We'll see what happens in the second round. We'll definitely get to that next week. I'm sure this is going to be a long series with Houston. But as far as, I guess we'll quickly talk about the awards as a wrap-up. So we'll switch over to the award season. It finally wrapped up. We have our MVP, we have our executive, and actually because we had some technical difficulties last night, we're now able to fit MIP in as well too. So let's get that out of the way. Let's start with MIP first. Not a surprise. Old Jimbo Butler. We all figured.
Yeah, I think that was a given.
Given, exactly.
Given.
Even though he took the taste of LeBron last night. Anytime someone wants to get LeBron riled up, just mention about how Jimmy Butler's like the LeBron stopper and watch all hell break loose.
Well, here's the thing about LeBron. To me, it's the inconsistency in terms of focus from time to time. Because I think what he did last night, he could have easily done that in game.
Yeah, but you see, I think LeBron's mindset is the right mindset. Is that statistically he even bears it out. When LeBron shoots a certain amount of attempts, that usually ends up with an L. So he knows in this case that's a bit of fool's gold. Yeah, can LeBron drop 30-something, 35 every night? Yeah, but he knows in this case that's not going to help his team win.
So, I mean, where I'm coming from, it's not necessarily dropping 39 points, but it's playing with a certain level of aggressiveness and assertiveness. And I don't see that in, game to game when...
Okay, here's my theory at this. I hear all these people talk about this LeBron, and I think I figured out, what was going on with LeBron with that. I think people, because they see the size, the weight, the strength, and the position he plays, you automatically think he should be dominant scorer. That's the way we've been brought up. But I think if you look at him, we go back to our Magic Michael hat, he plays more like a point guard with mentality as a point guard. And most point guards in this case usually pick their spots and do their offense. Oh, the team needs a little aggressiveness for me to get in the lane today? Fine. I'll churn it up tonight because they need me to do so. Or I'll wait the fourth and I see how things play out. Or if everything's going well, I might even shoot that much that night. And I think if you judge him on that mindset, then you can get to see what he's doing. But if you're judging him as a pure scorer, like how we talk about Carmelo or any pure like Durant, then it looks like, oh, dude, why are you taking nights off in this case? Well, he may not be, but I think he thinks of a mentality of like a Magic or a typical point guard would, where he's looking at the sea is like, okay, what do you need from me tonight? Rebounding? Do you need me to get in the lane? Do I need, in this case, just draw double teams to get someone off? I think if you look at it that way, then it's like, oh, okay, I get it. And I think that's the reason why sometimes it gets frustrating for folks that watch LeBron and they're like, what the heck is he doing?
I totally hear that. I just think, you can try that maybe for the first half, but you have to gauge the temperature of the game at a certain point and switch it up. Maybe in the second half, switch it up. Maybe let's say you start the game trying to get Kyrie going, you're trying to get some of the other guys going, and throughout the course of the game, that's not really happening, or it's not working out as you think it should be. At that point, you got to switch up your mentality to a certain extent,
I will say this, and you know what, I will for you folks that are on that side of the fence, I will definitely give you the mindset of, I think sometimes LeBron is slow on figure out during the game when the adjustment needs to be made. Like, dude, you can't let this keep going, right? You take
we saw last year in the finals with
right to some exactly to some extent where I think you just realize I just got to be in beast mode and just be done with it. After you realize, well, game 1 you had the cramp, so that was kind of an asterisk game, and yeah, you couldn't do nothing about that. But game 2, obviously, they knew they needed the game. He was way more aggressive. Game 3, I think actually he was quite aggressive throughout the whole series because I think he realizes like, yo, these guys are getting nothing done for me offensively and defensively. I think game 5, where he pretty much said, like, I passed the ball in this case here. I think in this case he was like, you know what, I'm done with this kind of thing. And he's like, you know what, you guys are getting paid the same amount of money as me. Do what you're supposed to be doing. And I think that way you try to expose folks. Like, okay, you know what? I'm not going down with this shit and everyone jumping on me as I'm scoring 30 because when it was done, people were still jumping about LeBron didn't do enough. Kawhi stopped LeBron. I said, the dude's averaging like 30 a thing, almost a triple-double. How's Kawhi Leonard stopping him from doing anything? Like, what world are you living in, Twilight Zone? And once again, as you said before, there's Dwayne Wade skirting in the corner quietly, running away. Nobody notices as he and Bosh take the most of the heat. Dwayne Wade's running away. He's like, no. Game 5, he put Dwayne Wade out on blast pretty much and said, oh no, if I'm going down shit, we gonna throw out everybody's flaws. Enjoy it, Chalmers. Enjoy it, Wade. Enjoy it, whoever else is it. And I think that's the reason why that game there. You watch that game again, game 5. I think the second half. He's like, you know what? If people want to know when LeBron Bruce checked out Miami, go at the second half of game 5. It was done. He was like, you know what? We'll go through the whole thing during the offseason, but I'm done. I already know what this team's about.
So, Brian, I have to give you a round of applause right now because I see what you did right there. I see what you did.
What I do?
You brought up Jimmy Butler, but you steered that conversation into a whole LeBron segment.
Well
played, Brian. Well played.
It wasn't even my plan. Holy cow. God damn it. I was pulled into the LeBron vortex. It happens to all Hoops fans. The LeBron vortex guy. It really does just bring you in. He truly is the gravitational pull.
Well done, Jimmy Butler. I don't think that was a big surprise.
Yeah, sorry, Jimmy. Even now he gets no love for after he was the award. Move along. Keep going.
I will say this about the Chicago-Cleveland series. I think the key game to watch would be Game 5. I think they're going to split the games going back to Chicago. Mm-hmm. And I think the key game was going to be to watch is Game 5.
And see how J.R. Smith reacts now after suspension. We'll see.
Yeah. We'll see.
So let's move on to the other 2 awards quickly. MVP, closest they've had in a few years. Mr. Curry ends up winning it. I'm not surprised because, as I mentioned to you last time when we spoke about this, even though I think really if I was looking at MVP, I thought Harden should win. But I think when you look at the style of play of Curry versus Harden, the love for Golden State for the most part, and they came. We were mentioning how they got shut out a little bit last week. They came back strong with 2 big wins with Executive of the Year. We'll get that in a second. That was kind of a fun. We'll end off on that. But Curry, I just say congrats to him, well deserved, and it was hard with the historical data for him not to win it. So that's my 2 take on it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the season they had. I mean, he was accused of catalyst for the season that they had. Mm-hmm. Golden State had one of the best records ever in the history of the league, regular season records, 67-15. Mm-hmm. Top offensive team, top defensive team, point differential. They set some records there. So top to bottom, they had a great season. I had Curry picked as my MVP. So I got one because all the other picks I struck out.
I was pretty hot, man. I think I ended up getting about 4 of them. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I lost on a coach. I got.
You got Jimmy Butler.
And Rookie of the Year we got.
We got Rookie of the Year. We got 2. I got Coach of the Year, 3. And I think one more I got somewhere in there. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think I had
6 man.
6 man. I didn't have Lou Williams there. And defensive player, I did not have Kawhi Leonard.
No, that one came on the blue. Yeah, I think you had Draymond. And I was doing. I essentially said Draymond too, but I like the Stifle Tower. Just I wanted to say it anyhow. But let's wrap it up quickly with Executive of the Year. So the Golden State executive, I can't remember his name, slipped my mind. I mean, I'll put it in the box below, but they win Executive of the Year. But I think the funny part was in this case that the option that was available to win it, if you really were looking at Atlanta, would definitely be a possibility. But I forgot. The Atlanta executive in this case here is not available at this time, so it makes for an awkward situation for the league. I think you had a little story on that quickly. We get through that before we wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, so we obviously know Danny Ferry and his issues in the offseason. And Atlanta, now, when the voting's coming up for Executive of the Year, they put out the story that, Coach Budenholzer was involved in a lot of front office decisions. And, by proxy, they're trying to transfer some of that executive responsibility over to him.
So did Grant give the walking papers to his boyfriend Duke?
He probably did.
Here's the papers, guy.
Sign the papers, But it's, the whole thing about trying to transfer responsibility, talk about transferring responsibility from the executive over to the coach just to be in the running and, not have a Sullied award given to them. It was very comical, I thought.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right, on that comical note, we'll end it here. We were a little over time. Sorry, I pulled you all in the LeBron vortex. That kind of delayed us a little bit. My bad.
Don't worry, we'll have a 14-minute Kobe segment next week.
Oh, gee, really? He's still around? We'll dust that off then. Okay.
I think he released a new playoff sneaker.
Right, that's the only way he's relevant. Anyhow, we'll leave it at that. Where can the good folks find you?
You guys can find me at Mr. Ravi_Porvita.
All right, and you can find me at Beyond Locker Room, short for RM, guys. Talk to you all next week, man. Peace.